Hi guys, welcome to Dice Down Gaming. Today we're going to discuss the joy of the hobby. Um, when I say we, I'm hoping Dan turns up sometime soon, and it will be a we. But if not, you guys are just stuck with me for this live one this Sunday. First of all, thank you to anyone who decided to join me for now. um, we're going to touch on what we think are the benefits of the hobby, from sort of mental health to taking pride in your own work, etc. Before I kick off, I just want to do a few shout outs. The first one is going to be to Monstrous Makings. I'm now an affiliate with them. They do some really cool stuff. They have some really great terrain on their website for War Machine. Oh, I've lost my camera. Ah, they do some really great terrain for War Machine. They also do measuring sticks, etc., etc. So if you're interested in sort of trading, to do some models, if you click the affiliate link on my YouTube channel, that helps me out a tiny bit, and I can use that to maybe upgrade some of my equipment. At the moment, I am using my webcam for when I was about 16, so getting some new equipment for the channel would be good. Maybe a new webcam and a slightly better microphone. That would be great. But if you do buy anything from there, if you could purchase it through my affiliate link, I'd be really grateful. Secondly, massive thank you to anyone who's subscribed to my channel so far. I really didn't expect much, a dorky guy with a lisp. Wasn't expecting too much, and I've really exceeded what I thought might happen. So thank you so much. My next target is going to be 250 subscribers. That is another breakpoint for YouTube in terms of what I can do and how visible I am. So if you do like anything I put out or find it useful or want to support me, I'd be really grateful for a subscribe. I really quite enjoy these like live streams where I can maybe talk to people in the chat. I really enjoy that. So if you want to get involved, drop a comment in the chat. I'll try to respond. And if you like it, drop a like. That will be that will be most grateful. So today, um, hopefully but maybe just me, is going to talk about the benefit of the tabletop hobby. And the first thing I'm going to talk about really is the joy of painting. And this one is hits home for me because I don't actually love painting, and I think what that stems from is when I first started painting, I tried to achieve like a heavy metal scheme, and I would never be able to achieve that level of quality. That would really put me off doing the task in the first place. I would always be frustrated that I've not achieved that level. And what I came to terms with was that if I've accepted that I don't like the process, to be honest, but I do like is the end reward. I do have a pride in the models that I have finished. So what I sort of had to come to terms with, that if I only want to spend 4 hours on a model, I have to accept that the results are going to be 4 hours worth of painting. But with that in mind, if I look at the contrast or speed paints or slap shop, which is not a good term for me because of the old lisp, there are ways in which you can paint in a limited time and you can get a good result. And I think coming to terms with, okay, I want to put this much effort into this model and I'm going to get this result. Okay, it's not going to look like the box art because I haven't got that skill or time. Um, is a big deal. So having some pride in your own ability and some pride in your own work, but also coming to terms with how much effort you want to put in to your model is a big deal. So I think first of all, if you're not enjoying it, maybe take a look at the reason you're not enjoying it. Is it maybe the quality you're getting out, and is that quality relative to the amount of time you're putting in, because I used to get massively angry. I'd, not massively angry, but I would be not happy with the quality of my work. But then I would also only be putting in, a few hours for the models, and I'd be angry that they're not the same as the heavy metal quality. So I think coming to terms with how many hours you want to put in relative to the output of your time will really help people enjoy the process. And another thing is it helps you engage with the game. You're gonna be talking to people about, oh, I painted this. What paints did you use? That looks great. Any tips on how you did it? How can I improve? And it's a massively good talking point on the social side of the game. If you are going to a tournament, and you're a bit nervous about meeting people, one thing that's a really good icebreaker is asking people, well, how did you paint your model? What paints did you use? How did you get this effect? It's a fantastic social tool because it's one thing that you and your opponent will always have in common is that common thread that you both like the hobby and you've both painted your models, and it's going to be a really really quick and easy conversation point if you were struggling for them. Um, so I think that's another really good bonus of the hobby. Another really important thing, which I think this might be one of the most important, is selling the game. I think War Machine has that misconception, but for a long time it was only 2D terrain, and there was never any painting requirements for steamrollers. I know Iron Gauntlet qualifiers were only for fully painted, but a lot of the steamrollers around, say, your local areas weren't don't require painting models. So you have sort of these photos of the game which was all 2D terrain with unpainted models, and I think that doesn't show the game in the best light. It doesn't look very immersive when you've got all the 2D terrain and nothing painted. So to sell the game and to catch people that are walking past and draw them in, I think it's really important that we try and play fully painted, And just for clarity, that I don't want this to come across that I'm saying if you're not playing fully painted, you're playing wrong. Because at the moment I'm not playing fully painted, and everyone's got a lot going on in their life, and everyone's very busy. So I don't think you can always expect everyone to play fully painted because it takes a lot of time to paint models. But I think the goal, if we're all striving to play fully painted, I think that's a really good goal to strive for. And I think if you want to catch someone walking past the table and you see some really great 3D terrain that's fully painted, and you've got a fully painted army, because the new sculpts I think are fantastic. I think they've done a really good job with the new range. I think when you catch some of those great photos of fully painted armies against each other on some really good terrain, the game looks fantastic. So I think selling the game in its best light is really important if we want to drive new players into the game. I think there's a lot of people that come back from Mark 3 to join the game again in Mark 4. I don't think like selling them people into the game is a hard sell, but I think getting new people into the game is always going to be the trickiest thing. And I think if we want to do that, the best way to do that is going to be through uh, putting out painted armies, painted tables, and catching people's eye as they walk past. Before I go on, I'm just going to check if my broadcast did start because I've had some troubles recently with my broadcast not starting correctly. Okay, no, we're all good. Apologies for the coughing. I have not been very well, and I still feel massively under the weather. Excellent. I'm not sure if Danny's going to make it or not by the looks of it, so I shall power on by myself. Hopefully Dan's okay and he's not had anything happen. So the next point I'd like to talk about is making things. I think, God, you remember when you were little and you would make terrain and you used like the toilet roll cardboard to make a tube, and you put three of them together, you make like a power pylon or something. I think there's a lot of joy in making terrain, and custom objectives. I think is a really cool thing to do. Kit bash some custom objectives. I think that's always a great deal of fun. Yeah, and tokens. You can make your own tokens, and you'll theme them to your army. I think there's a lot of joy in making something that's themed. I always love when you go to play someone who've got their own objectives, which are, say for Brian Blubbermont, you've got some pirate themed objectives, and you've got cool pirate tokens. I think I always really like that as a concept. And for myself, I think it's really helped my mental health. I suffer with anxiety and depression, and I've gone through some therapy, and I'm in a much better place with it all. But I find it's a really calming process just to turn off for a little while and paint. Put some music on when you've had maybe a stressful day or you've got a lot going on in your life, just to sort of switch off for a little while. Just zone in on the painting and make that your focus for the time you're painting. That can really help my mental health. I find that really calming. And obviously, not everyone will have the same struggles, but I think even if you haven't got mental health issues, just a ability to zone out and focus on one thing, I think is really powerful and really helpful. I'm just gonna bring up the Discord because my face was extremely shiny in that video. At one point, we're gonna go through. I'm much less shiny now. We're gonna go through some of the hobby in the Dice Down Gaming Discord and show off some of the great models that people have done so far. So let's take a look at that. Oh, I've lost my camera. I think it's because I'm on a Teams call. If I disconnect that, my camera isn't showing. What if I leave Teams? Oh, I still don't see my camera on the screen. Hmm, that's pretty bizarre. Okay. We're just going to go through some of the really great hobby in the Dice Down Gaming Discord. Got some really cool Orgoth from Banana Thames. So got one of the champions there. Always loved it. It always reminds me of the Blood Priest from the Cornate range from Sigmar. Really like the colours you got. I really like this metallic effect here. Really great. Got from one of my locals, Mark. Got this really fantastic Khador Warcaster. I can't remember his name, sadly, but yeah, he looks fantastic. Ah, this lovely painted troll. That is my troll. Uh, and then we got the I recently made the shadow and scum. I made the that side of it. We got a local made the chimera side of it, and then these are some of the grave diggers. Got the Deepborn Diatrol. Oh, that's mine again. It's just showing off my own stuff now. Then some more of my Brian Bloods. Some of Dan's. This is Dan's bacon. Got some really nice Storm Legion locally with the white and blue scheme. That's really nice. And then Mike the fish. Oh, I love the colour you've got on the skin here. Really nice. I love the sandy bases compared to the blue really contrasts well. And some cool terrain. That's really nice terrain. Like the 3D terrain really pops. Ah, I've got word that Dan will be joining me potentially. Let's see if we've got people still watching. If we've got people watching, we'll carry on. Yeah, cool. So Danny's gonna join me. So we'll have the two of us. Let me join this. Right, great. I'll go back to Discord. Oh, Huggy the Bear's posted. Huggy, we'll take a look at that in a second. Dan, no, that is my fault, Tom. I told Dad 8 o'clock, so I am to blame for this one. He will be joining imminently, so you will hear his Dorset tones. It is that is my fault. It was I got the time wrong, so you will hear Dan's faults very shortly, and then also we'll go through the hobby together. I don't know. I got the time wrong. Welcome, Dan. You will hear Dan's faults very shortly. Oh, well, I can hear my stream back on yours one now.
That's fine. I suddenly watched the live stream. Sorry, I was just finishing off bedtime with a 4-month-old. I'm sorry to the people that have tuned in live, even if it's just Huggy. Yeah, there was a message that I said 8 o'clock, but
I'm just doing this live. I think you find you said start at 7:30. Would that work for you? I said yes, that'd be good.
And then I think we had 8 as well. We've all got it. It's okay.
19:30 this Sunday should be good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna blame myself.
That's fine.
I'll take the blame. But we are now. The dream team has now been reassembled. I've already given my faults, so we can just really cover your faults. Okay. No one needs to hear Guy with a Lisp talk for any longer. So
sorry.
It's not your fault. It's my fault.
No, it's cool. So
first of all, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I painted. I've done painting for a week now. Last time I finished painting, I was painting Big Pig.
Big Pig.
Big Pig. Yeah, love him. Painting the Big Pig. Not quite as prevalent as back as the WTC from the summer. I think it was when I think he was in every single list. But yeah, he's fun, lovely model, and yeah, great to paint. Really enjoyed hobbying and doing him.
Nice. I'm just gonna try and make sure my webcam doesn't disappear when I do Discord, but I can't stop that for some reason. So it's what it is. So first of all, the first topic was pride in your own ability. I spoke a little bit about how I got frustrated that I would spend sort of a little bit of time on a model and I get angry it didn't look like the heavy metal box art.
Yeah.
Then I came to terms with the fact that I'm only going to spend like 4 hours on a model, so I need to accept it's not going to look like the heavy metal box art.
Yeah.
How have you sort of come to terms with your painting ability?
Yeah, so a bit like you, growing up, it was definitely looking at heavy metal box art, or just even other people, even in your community, and thinking, God, I wish I could wet blend like that, or oh, I wish I had an airbrush, those sort of things. And I think it's good to be aspirational, but also the reality is I want to get a army ready for a tabletop. I want it to be painted, look coherent, and I want to make sure I'm enjoying that process. There's models that I've painted for other game systems where I thought I'm going to spend like 12 hours on a single model or more, even more. And I've enjoyed that as a difference. But when I'm trying to get particularly a War Machine army painted, and for me, I'm trying to make sure I like to play fully painted if I can. I like to get things painted and looking coherent and just standard. So typical thing for me would be to prime. We usually Zenith prime, and then paint by color, paint by numbers almost, and then whack earth shade all over it, and then look at some highlights. I think particularly when younger, really focusing on trying to comparison is the joy. The comparison is a thief of joy. So when you compare yourself to other people and you're thinking, oh, I want it to be looking great like that, actually going, do you know what? I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it. And no, it's not going to win any awards, but at 3 foot away, when you're stood by the side of the table and it's all lined up and you've got 2 fully painted armies, it looks great. That's how I get my my satisfaction. Also, my understanding that actually I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I'm not going to be winning in a painting competition, but at least it's looking fully painted, and it's also looking good for taking photos for when my opponent's beautifully painted army might be beside it.
I think everything looks good from like a few meters away or at a tabletop, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Have you
and
tried Slapshot? You know, like when you do
yeah,
the
I'm a big fan of Slapshot. I think that Slapshot is something. I think Slapshot's something that's good, but also there's a couple of colours, particularly if you're using Games Workshop contrast, that I think sometimes water them down a little bit. They can be quite garish at times because of the type of pigment base they've got. But also, I'm a big fan of doing slap chop, then a wash, then a highlight, or dry brushing over the top. Just take away some of the sheen you get sometimes with slap chop. But yeah, I think slap chop's a really great idea. I think there's also nothing wrong with, you know, I would personally much prefer to see someone attempted to paint a model and you've been able to have a chat about their painting than them not have it painted. That's my personal preference. And also appreciating that someone's taken the time and effort to do that. So actually, whether it does look like I've got the model and just dunked it into a paint pot and then pulled it out and shook it. There used to be the old was it the quick dry stain where you literally could paint your model and you dip it was dipping stain,
yeah,
wasn't
just call it dipping it, and you
it?
would like literally dip the model.
Literally
When like
shake it.
in Mark II Trollbloods, I used that.
Yeah.
It would make it all like it would earth shade it. It was all really dark
Yeah,
brown. They had like a
yeah,
black one or a brown one, and
yeah,
it would like wash your model in one dip, basically.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and varnish it and protect it for 1,000 years because of it.
I managed
But
to work out how to have a webcam and Discord at the same time. Uh,
nice.
NASA will hire me at any moment. Excellent.
Yes, right. Yeah, I think also just like I say, just taking pride in your own work and also understanding that if you want to get better, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with trying new techniques. But also, if it doesn't go right, unless you're a commission painter, unless you're going for a golden demon, as long as you're, is it going to make a difference? Really, we're here to enjoy the hobby and here enjoy the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you said, comparison is the thief of joy. It's definitely the like something to focus on here because a lot of people, if you don't spend X amount of hours or haven't got the time or skill, skill to paint, and you think, oh, mine isn't as nice as their model, it's probably because they've spent more time and they've got more skill. So comparing that to that is sort of defeatist. I think if you can be
Yeah,
happy with what you're painting, that's all you should need to focus on.
exactly. And locally, I mean, we have a couple of fantastically talented painters
Yeah,
locally.
really good.
People that are using the brush, people that are not using, they're just using paintbrush, people that are using slap chopper. We have all bits in between. But I'm also aware that I painted pretty much all my dusk. If I added up all the hours, including the pig, I've probably spent less than 40 hours on my entire dusk faction.
Yeah.
And I know there's other people that have spent 10, 15 hours on a single model, and that's why it looks as amazing it does.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, that's a good point. I think comparison being the thief of joy is the main point there, and just be happy in what in your own work. Because at the end of
Yeah,
the day, it's better than being great. So whatever it looks like,
Yeah.
it's better be great.
Yeah.
And I think another really really key point is sort of selling the game slash driving
Yeah.
growth. You get them people when you walk past the table, and I think early Mark II steamrollers might have, and maybe Mark One, maybe a bit guilty of this when you walk past the table and it's only 2D terrain and it's only grey models. It's not the
It's-
best
It,
view of the
I mean, it
game.
wasn't even bare models, was it? There were some people that it was bare metal models. Sometimes it was parts of models that weren't even fully assembled. It was it was a pieces put on a base and glue stuck on it, or even just a torso. I know I can understand back when there was the NIS archers that took me hours to try and build because those arms did not want to go on, but selling the game, driving the game, making it engaging in the game as well. Having a painted army on the table engages for me. It engages the players more because also you get to have that chat, and it also, we spoke about sportsmanship last time, gives you something else to talk about and have that communication about. But also when people walk past, if they can see a fully painted army, or just even an army that's got some models painted, it looks so much better. But also with 2D terrain to 3D terrain, I think one of the huge benefits of the 3D terrain is then you can get immersed in the world. Back in the old days of Mark II, when you'd have sometimes coloured cardboard or paper cutouts that were just literally sheets of paper taken from a sugar paper tray at a school, chucked on some tables here, that's a wall, that's a building, that's a fire, and it's just literally just card everywhere, along with those bare metal models. It doesn't really sell the game, and that's where again that sort of community out focus on more of that competitive style came from. Whereas now let's have people come and take photos, go, wow, there's this model and this game and it looked amazing, there's this whole world to dive into, which I think is far better, and it sells it. And we found at Chelmsford Bunker that having 2D terrain and 3D on top, so we can show people the benefits of measuring, but also having that terrain that looks good. But also when people see a fully painted War Machine army, it looks awesome. People want to then say, okay, where can I get that from? How do I find out more? And conversely, if you go past a table of bare plastic, usually you're like, oh, can't really tell the difference between those units, and you won't engage and ask those questions.
Tom Huggy is back. Thanks for coming back, Tom. Poor people that listen to me speak just myself for 20 minutes. Deserve some sort of
Sorry, I'm
medal.
sorry,
No,
guys.
no, it's not your fault. It's my fault.
No, I think no, we're
It's both our
it was
faults.
easy.
We're both equally.
Yeah.
But he said 2.5D is the new thing. I don't know what 2.5D terrain is.
No, that's 2.5D. So it's that 2D terrain with a 3D element on top. So that ability of best of both worlds. So it's been able to precision measure through having, like, I've got my trees and my building that I put on top of the 2D terrain, but you've got that nice bit of 3D terrain that just makes it a little bit easier to measure.
It's like a 2D template with a bit of 3D stuff on top.
3D on top.
And then when you move into it, you tend to move the 3D stuff off.
Yeah, so
Right.
Forest's a really good example. Those Games Workshop forests, which look beautiful, but are really, particularly back in Mark II, when you might try and get a whole unit inside one of those wobbly forests. They're an absolute nightmare when you're trying to balance it. The old thing also, like, I can remember Bronze-backed Titans having to turn them around all the time to try and fit them in on, or half balance them on walls, or have dice underneath models. You don't want to get to that. So having that 2D terrain and then having the 3D on top, or something you've made, just makes it more engaging. I mean, as we move forward, I'm hoping we'll see some fantastic 3D terrain, obviously with printing and things like that, and tables are going to be really thematic and engaging themselves before they even get a model on, and that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, this is a terrible thing for me to say because it's got 4 S's in. But Sergeant Shamrock, checking in from the Discord, sub drop. Thank you, Mr. Shamrock. And I'm showing, a Mark locally asked for his Kador. I'm showing off one of his Warcasters, and he said he loves the orange in the beard. Yeah, Mark, local to us, done a fantastic job on that model. With the new My Mini Factory subscriptions, hopefully with the ability to print 3D terrain, we're going to see more 3D terrain on tables. Because for my events, I'm trying to source 3D terrain so we don't have to use so much 2D stuff. Hopefully that will provide more War Machine themed terrain.
I think it's really clever from Steam Forge to offer that, because again, it's saying that, they understand 3D printing is a thing. Actually, let's get people, printing off their own terrain, that or using the wider sort of wider community's ideas and having beautifully painted tables to also sell more models. And that selling of the game is not just about Steamforge selling models, but it's also about us trying to grow communities and get people to play more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you say, when you have someone walk past the table and it's only grey models and 2D terrain, people sort of maybe immediately turned off. And I think also a lot of the new sculpts are very involved, so that's
Yeah,
fantastic when it's painted. But maybe if it's grey, it's quite hard to understand what's going on.
yeah,
So I think selling the game and driving growth is really important to play painted. Sergeant Samurai agreed best way to play it. Started doing something similar near the end of Mark 3 for ease of agreement. Oh, that's with the 2.5D
yeah,
terrain. Tom said, yeah,
yeah,
2D mouse matte terrain with 3D something on it. So
yeah,
similar what we do. So
yeah,
when things and people move on it, it's
yeah,
not so bad. Okay,
yeah.
that I think that's well covered. We also are going to talk about the social side, how it can be a massive icebreaker between you and your
Yeah.
opponent.
Yeah, and straight away, whether you want to face a Crick sword or whether you're a bit daunted by that colossal that's just been put down on the table, actually being able to like say, actually, I really like that. And usually, even if someone's painted it, even if it's my painting where it's been just covered in earthshade, if you can find something positive to say about someone else's painting, then it just starts that conversation. And also, you can ask questions. Sometimes, I'd like to learn how to do painting better. I'd like to paint good, as it were. So actually being able to ask and say, oh, how did you do that? What did you do? You mentioned Mark, one of our locals. He has the best painted dog model I've ever seen for his Cador. I generally, I think it's absolutely stunning. And I asking him, okay, how did you do that? When I look at his manor wall, what did you do here? Why did you do this? And again, it just helps, like I say, break down that barrier, break the ice, as it were, and then also gives you something to have a chat about when things are going wrong, or if you're feeling, they're feeling a bit tense in there. And even you can do that still on clock as well. If the clock's on your time, you go, actually, just taking a second. I really appreciate what this model looks like. I'm going to try and kill it, but I really appreciate, the blending you've got. I love your, particularly on your troll bloods, the squid, the pink really pops on your Diatroll. And I think, it's really important to also, when you say about pride in your own ability, actually appreciate someone else has taken the time to paint their model, to make it look better than just that bare plastic, and just have that appreciation that we're both trying to enjoy, not just the competitive game, which you in Mark 2 we're trying to improve the whole game, as it were.
Yeah, and I think for clarity, we're also not saying that if you're not playing fully painted, you're like the devil and you're wrong.
Oh yeah,
We
100%.
we should all strive to play fully painted, but I'm
Yeah,
not even playing fully painted at the moment.
yeah,
Painting takes a lot of time. What we're just trying to say, we think these are the benefits of playing fully painted, and
yeah,
we say it's a goal we should all try to achieve.
yeah. But also, playing just painted with any model is better than, in my opinion, better than none. But and like we say, we're trying to be positive. That positive spin of, here's the benefits if you paint your model. If you have your model painted, you can talk about, your opponent can talk to you about it, and you can talk to your opponent about it if they've got theirs painted. The benefits are, selling the game. The benefits are you having pride in your own work, and also then if you might be someone that's a fantastic painter, you might not be the best general or best tactician, but if you go to an event and you get given best painted, that might be what you're going for, and that's perfectly fine. It might be you just, you turn up at your games club and someone goes, wow, that OSL you did there is fantastic. Does would the win matter if you've actually had lots of people come around you and go, I love that, that's brilliant. I think
Yeah,
that's
but
really
for
important.
some people, like the painting is almost secondary to them. They go to try and get fully painted, best painted rather than
Yeah,
actual wins. So
yeah,
it's a massive aspect of the hobby to some people for sure. Sergeant Shamrock has said the models that are painted are awesome. Loving the War Machine hype. Steamforge games are bringing back. I mean, yeah, Steamforge games are doing a really good job of handling War Machine so far.
yeah.
You've got
And I
the
think,
scheduled releases, right?
yeah, yeah, and I think showing painted models makes a big difference. Back at the start of Mark 4, when you can see it in the app when you look at some cards, when you're like, oh, it's just the grey render, like the render of the sculpt, it's not it's just not going to be as engaging. Whereas now you look at some models, go wow. But there's also models where you might see a photo of it and you don't appreciate it until you see it in person. Your trolls, for example, I played trolls back in Mark II. I wasn't the big fan of the troll aesthetic, though the pirate troll aesthetic when looking at it online. But when I've seen yours in person and painted as well, the ones that you painted already look superb, and again it gauges me to go, oh, maybe I should get that faction, maybe I should
Yeah,
go back to trolls.
that's very kind. Thank you. Tom said, I've got everything I want to play painted. Good on you, man. Absolute machine.
Yeah,
Good man, Tom. This is Charles at Samrock. G&W have 10 points for playing a fully painted army now in games. Oh, so the tournaments, they must be giving some points for playing a fully painted army.
yeah.
I know in Iron Gauntlet qualifiers that they have to be fully painted. So like Welsh Masters has to be fully painted to play in that.
Does it?
Yeah.
I
So
didn't see that. And you know what? I know that might be quite off-putting for some people, but how positive will that room feel when you've got the ability to take photos, and every table is going to look awesome, whether it's whether you've spent hours on each model, you've spent 4 hours on your whole army. It's gonna look fantastic. It's gonna be able to have that conversations. I think that's a great move personally. I can understand that some people are apprehensive about having a fully painted army, but I do really think there's huge benefits from it, and also it doesn't have to be pro painted. We often joked back in the day when people would be selling things on eBay and telling people they're pro painted when actually they're looking like a 2-year-old's done it with one hand tied behind their back. But I think actually it's great to have that. We'll see whether that's something that happens in future events. We're not telling people at our events that they have to play painted, but we're certainly encouraging it for the reasons I've said.
no, I think it makes sense for the Iron Gauntlet stuff because that's meant to be like the pinnacle of the game, right? And I often find also that the people that are at the top of the game they also have a massive strive to hobby as well. Uh,
Yeah,
so I don't think that will cause any issues. And I think I'd rather just say that you have to play painted rather than offering points. Thomas said he's
yeah, I
not a
agree.
fan of painting points. What's your thoughts on painting points?
I personally absolutely hate painting points. I personally hate that sort of comp. Um, for me, and how it can change standings and things, I don't like it because it can then put more pressure on you to paint. It can also really turn off people that are just happy with their own painting, but they're not going to get the points compared to people that are really quality, really good painters. I think I personally find it quite elitist. Having the points where it can impact standings. So I'm not a fan. I much prefer just saying, look, everyone's got to have 3 colours minimum. That's it. If that's their expectations, that's fine. And also not giving prize support for painted. Everyone. If we're trying to get people to paint, it's just say that's it. That's everyone's painting, but there might be still prizes for the best painted because then some people can aspire to do that.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I'd rather just say that you have to play painted regardless of
Yeah,
quality.
yeah,
Or if you give, say, like you get 10 points if you play painted regardless of the quality, I wouldn't mind that as well. But at that point, I would just say make people play fully painted and don't worry about
yeah,
points.
yeah.
Um,
Because also, could you imagine? Because unfortunately, you could be in the situation where if you give people the option, you will get some people that go, do you know what? It's 10 points. And they'd work out, because people do, they work out the system that those people that just want to play and win won't care about the painting points. They'll just care about going 5-0 at an event or whatever. And then you could have people that have spent the time getting the points only facing more competitive or hyper competitive unpainted grey or bare metal armies. And again, I can imagine that could split the community when you want everyone to be sort of on the living playing field and working together.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Sergeant Samrock said it's 10 points for having a painted army rather than quality based. It's just based on the fact it's points. So if you're painted, you get 10 points. So I assume that you don't have to play painted in that case. Otherwise, why would you get points? But yeah,
Yeah,
I'd rather just say that you have to play painted and don't worry about points.
yeah,
I've got your big pig on this on my screen at the moment because you obviously can't see the stream. So I've
Yeah.
got on a big. So how did you find painting the big pig? Because it looks really great.
So I did some. I painted it, sprayed it black, then sprayed it with a Color Forge brown on the top, and I just spent some time putting some colours on and covering it in Earthshade and a bit of Nuln Oil, and then used some technical paint. This is not the best painted model in the world. I am not going to win a painting contest, but again, being happy with it and going, it looks a lot better when it was bare plastic. I loved it. I love the intricacy. I find the sculpts for Mark IV have got a really nice balance between having some details that you can spend time on and just some really nice surfaces to get the colours into. I find that the sculpts now also have spaces that you can sort of hide any bad mistakes. You can hide it with shadows and things. Absolutely loved it. I love the sculpts. There's some models in my Dusk army that I find I'm less positive about how they look. Some people like them. Everyone has their own taste, but once they're painted, I'm like, oh, well, actually, I do like how that color turned out on that bit, or I'm really happy with how I managed to get that gem to look, or whatever. Again, about pride in your own work. So I thoroughly recommend it. That was probably 4 hours painting and then basing. At the end, again, it doesn't have to. Again, you do not have to have it pro-painted. Being painted and spending some time, and it just looks much cooler, and then you can have a chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks really good. To be fair, it looks great. I'm not sure if you want to jump on my Discord. I'm gonna go through some of the things people have posted. You can always
That's cool.
You can always bring up
Yeah,
what I'm gonna bring up on my screen.
I'm on the Discord. Which sub thing do I need?
At the moment, I'm looking at Den Signar locally, the blue and cream.
I don't know why I love that scheme so much, but for some
looks,
reason I do.
Great,
I have never posed in those colours myself, but I think it looks really good. It really popped on the table, having had him over and played against it, and just thinking, God, actually, really like that.
Yeah, I quite like how gritty it looks, and he commented himself that he prefers to paint in like cleaner things. He paints Eldar, but I actually quite like how gritty it's come out. It's a lot more sort of like how it would look on the battlefield,
Nice.
And then below that we've got Mike the Fish, who has dropped some Trollbloods. We've got the Boom Howler and Pig Boarding Party, which I really like the colour of the bases. The yellow of the base really pops against the blue of the models.
Oh,
and the Boom Howler's got a little crab on the base, which is great.
Does Boom Howler have a squid on her head normally?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think nearly all of the warlocks have some sort of animal. Because Shadowtongue's got like a crow, Ragemonger's got a shark, Boom Howler's got a squid, Foulblood's got a monkey. I mean, Bagger the Bandit is a frog. So, and Firequill's got a starfish. So.
And just looking at the terrain underneath that, just that spending the time to make some of those bits or get them printed things, that looks great, doesn't it? Like as a table, you want to go and play on it, and you want to.
I really like the terrain, because again, you put that against the models of both painted armies, and you have such a good looking board. Tom, Huggy, Pig Boarding Party are such nice models. Yes, they are great models.
Nice models. Also, the things you need to kill as soon as possible, because those guys.
They are a menace.
They're so good. They're not broken toys. I just every time, because me having a high defense, low armor faction, they don't care if they just take. If I just take the blast damage, I die. Looking at Huggy's Wyvern there, really like the.
I think the first thing he painted, the first thing he posted, which is the blue and yellow wings. Is that a Wyvern? Oh, it is a Wyvern. Yeah.
I like how I'm guessing he used some contrast there to have some like transition between the yellow and the orange. I'm guessing, but that works really well. And I can imagine also, again, when you've got the sort of the darkness of many War Machine factions, I paint because I cover everything in Earthshade. It's quite gritty. Actually, that contrast will look really cool.
And I find the Chimera sometimes quite hard to read, but I actually
Yeah,
think the way that the silver denotes the metallics and then the blue and yellow is not metallic, it makes it quite easy to understand what's what. Whereas on some of the box schemes for the Chimera, I don't really know what's going on because there's so
completely
many
agree.
colours going on everywhere that I find it hard to read. But that's
I
a
think the
really
new Gargantuan, particularly, I need to see it in the flesh because from the photos I was like, "What is this?" But yeah,
yeah. And then we've got
Mike the
oh
Fish.
wow, these are really
Those,
cool.
I mean, as I love a muted tone, but the OSL on the I can't remember their technical name. The statues look
Oh, the Fire
fantastic,
Guardians, yeah.
but just as a whole, just
Man,
love it.
that first
I
shot
don't,
of like all they got like the green of the Varroga, the reds of the
yeah,
Spirit Shamans, like like the sort of baby green on the Fuse Walkers, and like Bagger the Bandy's like blue hair. There's some really like
yeah.
altogether like it's like a barrage of color. It
Yeah.
looks freaking
But
awesome.
again, a coherent force that's got nice details. And look at the bases, lovely. OSL. I'm generally fascinated how on earth they got how Mike the Fish got that lovely, like really muted white green color on their skin.
Yeah, the skin
Um,
is fantastic.
and the totems, I love also the crab. I'm guessing that's a crab that's been added, or does that come with the model on the
Sorry,
totem?
the crab. All the crabs are additions by Mike.
Yeah,
Even the
love it.
starfish is on the bases as well. They're all additions by Mike. So this is a really great looking force altogether. I love the use of
Yeah,
color. Like there's so much color.
yeah.
Morga Borgia and Fuse Walker look great as well. Mike, these look awesome.
Um, So and Huggies, I can't remember the name of that character. I think that's the character one from the box.
Achilles maybe? Oh
Yeah,
damn, those colors
really,
are
really like
awesome.
that. Again, like I say, it's just making it really stand out. I mean, I like that. I don't know if you scroll up, Aaron.
Yeah.
There's someone's um, grave diggers from Prof 9844.
Oh, the
That
sort of purple and brownish.
purple brown proper, they look like they've been in the trenches for years. Really, again, nice. Like for me, I like that muted tone. The white on the bases really pops as well. Love that. But as you go up, I don't know if you've seen, I'm pretty certain this is a Maelstrom,
The
and
maelstrom, yeah.
it's made me want to buy Signar. The colors, the the little bit of OSL from the blue, the basing with, I think that looks like a
Like
crater there
is
as
it like
well.
a beach? Is it? Or
I
maybe not. There's
presume
some
so. I believe
metallic.
that's,
I think it is a beach. You got like the waves behind it, then like a little
yeah.
conch shell in front of it, and then a little water pool.
And I'm going to go on a guess that this has been an airbrush. But by the way, I'm not
I'm gonna
elitist
say
anyway.
it's airbrush. Yeah.
If I had the time, the talent, and the ability to have a ventilated room where without a 4-month-old, I would definitely be on the airbrush because I think the effects people can get out of it. I'm really impressed.
I
Just
looked into
looking
an
it up.
airbrush, and I was sort of under the impression that I would just buy an airbrush and it would work, but actually, like, there's so much more. Like, getting to clean the airbrush, having a compressor
Yeah,
for it, getting the right paints
yeah,
for it, then having a ventilated
yeah,
area to spray it. It was a lot more than
yeah.
just, oh, I'm just gonna buy an airbrush and I'm going to use the airbrush. So I think it's definitely
And
worth it, but it's just,
some of the effects people get, I think it's, I mean, definitely if you can get hold, I'm sure there's people in our local community and also probably on your Discord that are airbrush pro painters or just know what they're doing, and just be able to tell people how they can actually do that. I think that'd be a great video for the future. Like, actually, if you wanted to get into airbrushing, how could what can you do? Because
yeah, I
it's
don't think there's
something
any. It's not a negative to say it looks airbrush. I think just
yeah, that's what I mean.
the initial finish you get with an airbrush, I think, is apparent when you look at it.
Yeah,
D dot dot dot
I,
has dropped some really cool troll bloods from the brine bloods from the new Shadows and Scum, and the color on Scum is awesome. Color is lovely.
I mean, I mean, I don't want to face him because he's scary, but just look at those.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be wrong, but that looks like it's potentially non-metallic metals as well. I might be
It could
wrong.
be, yeah, because it looks like it could be like
The
leather
facing's
color.
great. Yeah. The albatross bird thing looks
Sully,
great.
it looks really good.
Love it. And
I
I
like
also like particularly those the shift between the light and dark on those models is
the skin
yeah.
tone's really nice. It goes really well against the reds of the
Um,
uniform.
the Dr. Ethers terrain from demos at Chilcon and Lead and Steel. That's what a War Machine that for me. That's what a War Machine table with 3D terrain should look like.
Oh
You know,
wow, that is a
really again
great looking
engage you.
table.
I mean, yeah. Again, just having. Also, I appreciate that they've printed off their rules on the left-hand side. And Steamforge just said they're bringing back cards, and I think that's another great move from them. Dr. Ether as well, his Magnus. Oh, I really like that. I like the contrast in the yellow and the blue. I don't know if you've seen this. His Magnus.
Oh wow, yeah, I've just brought it up on the screen. That's fantastic. I really like how the yellow really pops.
Is that an ice? I'm interested whether that's an ice, like basing's meant to be ice, or whether it's just like a blue ash.
Yeah, the blue base, I think maybe it's meant to be some sort of like, I don't know, like tundra, so not an ice, but
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
cold climate sort of base. But they're really striking against the colours that he's got on the model.
Mike the Fish's Brian Bloods on the beach mat. I mean, I love the fact that the mat itself has the shore coming onto it, and then
I
some
got some
lovely,
pig galley crew.
yeah.
What
Again, straight away. There's a dead whale like thing on one of the photos. That is,
Oh wow, that board is
yeah,
incredible. You got like the boat, like half boat, then
yeah.
you've got the dead whale. That's a
So,
crazy board, man.
so if you walk past that, you're going to go,
You're
"What is this
gonna,
game?"
yeah, what is
Even
going
if,
on here?
and also like when you just look at that whale, like I mean, from the photos, it looks like it's well painted, but it doesn't have to be pro painted because if you're in a game store, if you're in a games club, and you look over and you just see the carcass of a dead whale with half its guts blowed out on a
Right.
mat that looks like it's a beach that's swept up, you're going to want to go. Actually, let's check this out. Yeah,
That
and
is
also the Kador.
Oh, there's some close-ups of D's Brian Blood. I'm quickly gonna go through them for the
Oh,
they're lovely. That Shum, cause the color on Shum, Mr. Box looks really good as well.
the contrast on Chum and the pufferfish thing that he's holding is really good.
Yeah, I definitely. These are all made for me. I just need to put them on the table, so I will get around to that. Then we've got
Yeah.
D's fully painted two-player starter boxes, which look really great. In
Look at
classic
that.
colors
Look
as
at those.
well.
Look at the red.
Yeah, the red is
Again,
sweet.
I know I'm just probably a bit of a simpleton, but just the contrast between the top of the model being so light with the red and how it gets that blending, that shade. I mean, it could just be, he could have a really easy technique that it will be able to tell his opponents how to do it in 5 seconds, but it just looks great on the table.
That looks fantastic. You can't go wrong with the red and blue. Those
Yeah,
two colors look great. Oh wow,
yeah.
D is providing us with all the stuff. Got some of these cricks and some of these Signar.
Yeah, and again, that's in the background there. You can see that that's obviously games work
Yeah, that's
terrain,
some of the
but
Sigmar terrain. Yeah,
being painted, it just adds to it. It doesn't have to be Steamforge. It doesn't have to. You can use terrain from other game systems. It's about making the table look cool.
absolutely. Oh, he's got like Nicane and a couple of. I
Yeah,
think they're Malefactors. I think the cricks heavies. And I think it's Hades in the middle with the character guy. Looks fantastic. Really nice job, D.
Side note: the way that he's photographed that Kador versus Signar
Yeah,
C,
he
and I'm sure it's had a bit of Photoshop as well. But that again that sells the hobby, and looks fantastic. I mean I'd be happy to see that in a rule book on page 227 or whatever as it discusses some sort of rule. Looks fantastic.
Yeah, D, all of your work is beautiful. And also like your photo setup is fantastic. Like you've obviously got some backdrops and stuff and the good light and stuff and
Yeah.
everything, but the way you photoed your stuff looks fantastic. Obviously
I think
it's
also
very well painted, which helps the whole thing, but the photo quality is really good as well.
we're in a world where there's Instagram and social media, another way of promoting the game, but also I think sometimes I mean my models generally don't photo very well, but again that way to if you're proud of your work, if you're happy with sharing it with to other people then can be inspired by it, not just those that are around you on the tables beside you, but actually those that are following you or involved in the hashtags of War Machine, whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
it all builds on each other, right? The more people are sharing and painting, the more
yeah,
people see it, and then it all sort of builds. Mr. D showed some really cool terrain from Dark Fantastic Mills. I used to get all my Sigmar terrain from them, but it's kind of big for War Machine. But if you wanted to create, like, say you were going to go to Salute and play a game, that would be really cool to
yeah,
have like a diorama table where you're sort of playing around it.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think where where they at Salute Sleepwalk games.
They Steam Forge Games were not at Salute, having been at the venue, and I went around to it as well. I think there was potentially Wayland Games thought someone else was going to demo it or something. But
Right.
yeah, no one was there from War Machine, like representing War Machine or anything like that. But it's one of those things.
That's a shame. I mean, like, if you had like a nice table with some models, it probably wouldn't be a bad way to draw some people
Well,
in.
next year, Aaron, that could be us.
Yeah, that could be us. I'll have to paint my army. I'm getting there. I'm like halfway through. I'm getting there. Mr. D put some. Oh, that's some of the terrain he actually posted. So I think it worked for like a show table, but it might be a bit big for like a steamroller, for example. Oh, D put some old school Legion in there as well. Old Mark III Legion. Little shredders, little 2-point shredders.
I remember painting loads of that.
Yeah, that were good times.
Big fan of washes on the old Legion models, because the sculpts were so nice themselves. Actually, using washes to sort of show the sort of body formation of those the mutations themselves were fantastic. I love
I
the
think like organic models that have muscle and folds naturally take to washes really well.
yeah,
They sit in the recess of the muscle, don't they?
yeah. And I also think that on the other side, models with paneling will look really good when they're airbrushed, because you can get a really good effect on
You
them.
get a really smooth, flat surface, don't you?
Yeah,
So I know like a lot of
yeah.
the Tau battle suits look really nice airbrushed. You get that really flat application of color. I sent them deep in a nice grey color scheme for the Kador. That's pretty cool. I
It
like
seems like
the
there's that nice little edge highlighting on lots of those models, lots of those panels. Just again, being able to talk through that with your opponent or with
Yeah, I
people
think
around you. Yeah,
if you're going to a tournament and say you don't know anyone, one common thread between all of you is like, how did you paint that? What techniques did you use?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
suddenly you don't know the guy, but at least you can ask him a question about what he's done, and
yeah.
suddenly you're talking, and then the ice is broken.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a cool
And
thing.
also, if you see someone with a painted army, you know that they're engaged in the game. Like, you know that they care about it. Having
Yeah,
played other systems, where one game system in particular, where one year at one event, the top 40% of players were all playing the same faction, and they could buy because of the game system, they could buy it. It was already pre-built. It was coloured plastic, so the tables just looked all just so generic, but also just really it didn't make you engage. It made you just look like, right, just playing sort of, you could play with chess pieces at that stage. It's
yeah.
we're playing with models for a reason. We like the sort of tactile nature of it.
Absolutely. We're coming up to an hour, so I'm probably
Yeah,
going to look to wrap it up soon.
that's
But what's your closing thoughts to people that what have the main benefits of the hobby that you found?
the main benefits of the hobby that I found is having that point to chat about, but also have it. It sounds weird, but building a relationship with your collection and with your army that's not just on how good it's performed on the table. You might have that. I know, for example, there's one of my mechanics, I can't remember the name in Dusk, one of the guys that gives out focus, that I think is the best painted out of the three of them. So I want him to survive for longer. And I think, building that relation and going, Joe, what, there's a cast that might not be you might not have been as good with, but actually I'm really proud of the paint job. So being able to have that discussion, but engage with your army, engage with the game as well, is something that I think is the biggest benefit, or two things that I think are the biggest benefit.
Nice. Before we wrap up, Tom asked what game were you referring to with the plastic pre.
That was Simon's A Song of Ice and Fire.
The Game of Thrones game.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because they come like pre-built and pre-color plastic, right?
Yeah. And everyone was playing Free Folk and the same Free Folk army.
Okay.
But you know, on a side, you know, coming back to War Machine, we're now having steamrollers where everyone's playing sort of a different faction. You're looking around and you're seeing cool painted army, or you're not fully painted, but you're cool painted models, which is really good. You're seeing terrain. You know, the terrain's been shown in the feed in the Discord as well. You know, yeah, people are going to want to play War Machine, ask about War Machine, and turn up again. And also, when you take those photos and you show your parents or you show your partner, you know, it might make them feel a little bit more understanding of why you spend hours doing this stuff.
Absolutely. Right, we'll end it there. Thank you everyone who tuned in. Actually, like I read loads of people chatting during the whole thing, so that was lovely. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time today, Dan. Sorry about my mistake on the opening.
No. It's me as well. So thank you very much.